Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we get you the top 50 stories from around the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. In our top stories, Israel and Hezbollah have accepted a ceasefire in Lebanon after months of war. The ceasefire was brokered by the United States and France. The Israeli Security Cabinet voted 10-1 to approve the deal. As a part of the deal, Israeli troops will retreat from the Israel-Lebanon border over the course of 60 days. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that his country retained the right to forcefully respond if there's any violation by Hezbollah. He added that the Israeli Defense Forces had complete freedom to take action. Netanyahu also said that the duration of the truce will depend on Hezbollah's activities in Lebanon. U.S. President Joe Biden has hailed the ceasefire agreement in Lebanon. He described the deal as good news for both countries. Biden thanked French President Emmanuel Macron for helping get the proposal finalized. The outgoing U.S. president also said that he would soon make another push for a ceasefire in Gaza. World leaders welcomed the much-awaited ceasefire in Lebanon. Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati has described the ceasefire as a fundamental step toward restoring stability. The United Nations said that a considerable amount of work was still needed. Meanwhile, the French President Emmanuel Macron said that the Lebanon truce was a step toward ending the war in Gaza. Iran has also welcomed the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran's foreign ministry hailed the end of Israel's aggression against Hezbollah. Iran also stressed its firm support for Lebanon and its government. Meanwhile, multiple Israeli strikes hit Lebanon's capital Beirut on Tuesday. They took place just moments before the approval of the ceasefire. The attacks reportedly hit a residential district in Beirut. The Israeli military said that at least 20 projectiles had crossed over from Lebanon into northern Israel. They entered while ceasefire discussions were underway in Tel Aviv. About 10 projectiles were seen in the western Galilee region. Another 10 projectiles entered the coastal city of Haifa, out of which 5 were intercepted. The U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has picked Indian origin Jay Bhattacharya to be the new director of America's National Institutes of Health. Now, he has also named Jameson Greer as the new U.S. trade representative. Meanwhile, Kevin Hassett will lead America's National Economic Council. Hassett served as the chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors for 2 years during Trump's first term. The foreign ministers of the G7 nations have expressed renewed support for Ukraine. They also condemned Russia's hypersonic missile launch on Ukraine last week. The G7 foreign ministers described Russia's attack as irresponsible and threatening nuclear rhetoric. They also warned that North Korea's support for Russia marked a dangerous expansion of the conflict. And Peru's Congress has sacked the country's energy minister, Romulo Mucho. The move comes amid relentless protests by miners in the South American nation. The row is over a program that allows small-scale miners to operate informally. Authorities oppose it, saying it has increased illegal mining. Peru's government wants miners to formalize operations by next year. And violent anti-government protests erupted in Albania's capital of Tirana. Protesters who back the opposition staged demonstrations accusing the government of corruption. They demanded the current regime be replaced by a caretaker administration. Albania's opposition has been staging protests for almost a week now. They want new leadership to take over until parliamentary elections are held in 2025. And China's Defense Minister Admiral Deng Jun is reportedly under investigation for corruption. Now, it is a part of a sweeping probe targeting graft within the People's Liberation Army. Deng, who took over in 2023 after his predecessor was dismissed for similar charges, is now the latest high-ranking official to face scrutiny. And North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, slammed South Korea. She condemned what she said were anti-regime leaflets flown via balloons from the south. Kim's sister said the areas where the leaflets allegedly landed were sealed off. Since May, the two Koreas have been at odds over balloon launches. In Pakistan, former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party PTI has called off protest in Islamabad. This came as security forces launched an overnight crackdown, arresting hundreds of Imran Khan supporters. Earlier, in a message from the prison, Imran Khan had urged his supporters, and I quote, to fight till the last ball and do not retreat. And Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has vowed to hold free and fair local elections. This after she faced accusations of repression in the run-up to the polls. Hassan, who took office in 2021, has faced criticism over implementing authoritarian tactics like her predecessor. The country's opposition, too, has raised concerns over the electoral process. And in climate news, rescue workers in western Indonesia continue to clear debris from the weekend floods and landslides. At least 20 people were killed across 4 districts in North Sumatra. The hardest hit Karo district accounted for 10 deaths. Authorities fear more casualties as the landslides area, a tourist hotspot, remains buried under mud and debris. In the Indian city of Chennai, Cyclone Fengal is likely to make landfall today. Schools and colleges in Chennai and its nearby districts have been closed, as heavy to very heavy rains are expected to persist through Thursday. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued a heavy rainfall warning for the state of Tamil Nadu. And China's carbon dioxide emissions are set to rise slightly this year. This is according to the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air. It's a setback to its 2025 climate goal of an 18% reduction in CO2 intensity. To meet its target, China must cut emissions by 6% over the next 2 years. And Vietnam was to become the world's 4th largest importer of plastic scrap, receiving 420,000 tons in 2022. However, only 30% of its own plastic waste is sorted. Much of the imported material remains unrecycled due to contamination. Experts warn that Vietnam's informal recycling sector and unsanitary landfills could hinder sustainable waste management. And salty ocean water is getting mixed in the Delaware River. Now, the water from this river is a source for millions of Philadelphia residents. The water is becoming salty because of persistent drought conditions and sea level rise. Officials say that the water isn't at risk imminently, but they are monitoring the situation. And on to business and tech news now. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump reportedly plans to include oil imports in his tariff hike plan. Earlier this week, Trump announced plans to impose a 25% import tariff on Canada and Mexico. However, the oil industry had hoped to be exempt from such measures. The U.S. meets a quarter of its oil needs through imports from Canada and Mexico. American carrier United Airlines has criticized the Federal Aviation Administration for its staffing shortages. Now, the airline claims the low number of air traffic controllers deployed by the FAA is causing significant disruption. United said it has been forced to reduce traffic flows at its Newark hub in New Jersey. The carrier says that worker shortages are leading to delays, cancellations, and extended flight durations. And share prices of weight loss drug makers Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly have surged yesterday. Novo Nordisk shares rose by about 5%, while Eli Lilly's jumped by over 3%. This came after the Biden administration expanded coverage under Medicare and Medicaid. The state-run health plans will now cover the cost of anti-obesity drugs as well. And the Australian government has introduced a new bill to crack down on misconduct by big supermarket chains. The bill aims to penalise grocery chains like Woolworths and Coles if they mistreat their suppliers. Earlier this year, Australia had introduced a new voluntary industry code of conduct in this regard, and the new bill aims to make the code mandatory. And Australia's House of Representatives has passed a bill that bans children from social media. The bill aims to block children under the age of 16 from accessing social media platforms. The legislation was passed with overwhelming support as major parties backed it. The bill will now move to the Senate for a final vote. A U.S. court has dismissed a shareholder lawsuit against streaming giant Netflix. The case was filed by a Texas-based Netflix stakeholder in 2022. At the time, the streaming firm was facing declining subscriptions due to rampant password sharing. The lawsuit accused Netflix of downplaying the impact of low subscriber growth. However, the court ruled that Netflix's statements were not misleading. And the U.S. Federal Communications Commission has approved a license for T-Mobile and Starlink. This is the first joint broadband license for a satellite operator and telecom firm. It aims to provide additional internet coverage in the remote areas of the U.S. T-Mobile and Starlink first partnered in 2022 to eliminate no internet coverage areas in the U.S. And ChatGPT owner OpenAI has reportedly allowed its employees to sell their stakes to Japan's SoftBank Group. The Japanese firm is likely to purchase roughly $1.5 billion worth of stakes in the artificial intelligence company. SoftBank has already invested $500 million in OpenAI. And South Korea plans to roll out $10 billion in loans for the chip industry next year. The loans will be provided through state-owned banks. South Korean chip manufacturers are dealing with intense competition and supply chain disruptions. This has also affected chip giants like Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. And China's Huawei has launched its new Mate 70 smartphones. It's the first phone to use Huawei's self-developed operating system, Harmony OS, Next. While Huawei did not specify the chip that is powering Mate 70, it did claim that the device is its most powerful phone to date. The US has banned Chinese firms from importing advanced technology, including chips. And moving on to sports news, and we start with cricket. West Indies beat Bangladesh by 201 runs in the first test of the two-match series. On day 5, Bangladesh needed 225 runs to win with just 3 wickets remaining. West Indies' Alzari Joseph began the day by claiming 2 wickets, and the match ended as Bangladesh's Shariful Islam then retired from the game due to suspected injury. The International Cricket Council will hold a meeting to finalise the road ahead for the Champions Trophy. The tournament is likely to take place in Pakistan next year, but India has refused to play in Pakistan over security concerns. A hybrid model is proposed, with India's matches likely to be held at a neutral venue. And South Africa are playing Sri Lanka in the first test of the two-match series. Now, the match is currently underway in Durban. Sri Lanka won the toss and chose to bowl first on day 1. The series is key to Sri Lanka's chances of qualifying for the World Test Championship finals next year. And in football, Manchester City played a 3-3 draw against Feyenoord in the Champions League. City's Erling Haaland struck twice in each half of the game. Ilkay Gundogan had also scored as the City surged to a 3-0 lead in the second half. But Feyenoord then pulled off a late comeback as Anes Hajed Musa scored in the 74th minute. Forward Santiago Gimenez then followed through shortly after to make it 3-2 in the 82nd minute, and David Hanko scored the last goal just before the end of play. And Arsenal beat Sporting CP 5-1 in the Champions League match. Arsenal's Gabriel Martinelli and Kai Havertz then scored in the first half. The Gunners' centre-back, Gabriel Magalhaes, also scored on the cusp of half-time. As the game resumed, Sporting CP's Gonçalo Inácio scored to take the tally to 3-1. Shortly after, Arsenal hit back as Bukayo Saka struck in a penalty shootout, and Leandro Trossard then scored the winning goal for the Gunners minutes before the final whistle. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich beat PSG 1-0 in the Champions League. Kim Min-jae headed Bayern into the lead in the 38th minute, and PSG's Ousmane Dembele was given a red card for a foul minutes after half-time. PSG were floundering throughout the game and committed multiple rule violations. And Barcelona beat Brest 3-0 in the Champions League. Robert Lewandowski scored the opening goal with a penalty stroke in the 10th minute. And Dani Olmo hit the back of the net to take the 66th minute to take a 2-0 lead. And Lewandowski then struck again minutes before the final whistle to seal the game for Barca. And in tennis, the nominations for the 2024 ATP Awards are out. Notable names include men's world number 3 Carlos Alcaraz, world number 6 Casper Ruud, and the recently retired Australian player Dominic Thiem. The world number 1 in men's tennis Jannik Sinner and his coaching staff were missing from this year's ATP Awards nominations list. The winners of the annual awards will be announced starting the 9th of December. In badminton, India's top men's doubles pair, Satwik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty, withdrew from the Syed Modi International Championship. This is due to an injury sustained by Chirag Shetty. And Indian wrestler Bajrang Punia has been slapped with a 4-year ban. This as Punia reportedly refused to provide his sample for a doping test in March. The Olympic wrestler will be out of action till at least the year 2028. The 30-year-old can no longer apply for a coaching job in or outside of India. And in entertainment news, the red carpet was rolled out for the International Emmy Awards event. Here are the highlights. The Best Drama Series Award was given to Drops of God, while the Division Palermo took home the Best Comedy Series Award. The Vow was honored with the Best Telenova Award. Dear Child was felicitated with the Best TV Movie/Miniseries Award. And the Best Sports Documentary Award was given to Brawn, the Impossible Formula One Story. Meanwhile, here are the actors who won big at the 52nd International Emmy Awards. The best performance by an actor was given to Timothy Spall in The Sixth Commandment. The best performance by an actress was won by Chutimon Chuang Charong-sung in Hunger, and the award for Best Kids Animation was given to Tabby McTatt. Indian artist Veer Das was this year's International Emmy Awards host. During his opening monologue, he mentioned actor Will Smith's 2022 Oscars slap incident. He said, and I quote, "Who does Will Smith have to slap tonight for us to get some eyeballs, guys?" Veer Das is the first Indian man to host the award show. And a look at the nominees of the Billboard Music Awards 2024. In the top artist category, we have Taylor Swift, Drake, and Sabrina Carpenter. Top new artist category has Teddy Swims, Tommy Richmond, and Chappell Rowan. And top duo/group has Coldplay, Linkin Park, and Stray Kids. Top streaming songs artist has Sabrina Carpenter, Kendrick Lamar, and Taylor Swift. And top song sales artist list includes Taylor Swift, Jungkook, and Shabuzi. And the winners will be announced on the 12th of December. And here are the South Korean pop stars who are dominating this year's Billboard Music Awards. Artists like Jungkook, Jimin, and Stray Kids have been nominated for the Top Global K-Pop Artist Award, while Top Global K-Pop Song category has Who by Jimin, Standing Next to You by Jungkook, and Magnetic by Illicit. And in the top K-pop touring artist category, names like 17, ENHYPEN, and Tomorrow X Together are in the list. While top K-pop album has Golden by Jungkook, Rockstar, and 8 by Stray Kids. And in rapper Sean Combs' latest bail plea, lawyers have cited the example of Donald Trump, said that the rapper's comments publicly are shielded by the First Amendment, which is similar to the US President-elect Donald Trump's federal criminal case. Sean Combs is currently in custody awaiting trial on charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. Actor Tom Cruise has shared a sneak peek from the sets of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and he shared glimpses from an underwater training session. The actor exclaimed that he can't wait to show the fans more. The film will release in May of next year. Actor Patrick J. Adams revealed on a podcast why he left Suits. He said he was drinking too much at the end of season 7. The actor stated that he didn't take care of his mental health. He then decided to not be a part of season 8 and focus on himself and his family, especially his 2 daughters. Adams was a part of the show for 7 seasons. An Oscar-winning film Slumdog Millionaire's sequel is in the works. Los Angeles-based production house Bridge 7 acquired the rights for a sequel and TV adaptation. Released in 2008, Slumdog Millionaire is directed by Danny Boyle. And the trailer of Squid Game Season 2 has been released. The video shows deadly new games awaiting the players. Actor Wee Ha-jin is reprising his role as Hwang Jun-ho, and it will premiere on Netflix on the 26th of December. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.